as well. I know they're working round the clock. I know it's tedious work, and I know it's difficult. But I want them to know that we appreciate it as well. Just moments ago, I made a unanimous consent request on the House floor to fund Israel's critical Iron Dome defense system. As many of you know, carried, we have the President of Israel here this week. The Israeli government requested resources from the United States to help them replenish the weapon system supplies and equipment, which is vital to protecting the Jewish state from terrorist attacks. As many of you know, the Iron Dome is a defensive protection. We watched the number of missiles come just a few months ago. I made the request alongside Whip Scalise, Ranking Member Granger, McCall, and Rogers. Considering Israel as our strongest ally in the Middle East, this measure should have received unanimous consent. House Democrats had an opportunity to show a sharp contrast from the anti-Semitic rhetoric and actions taken by some of their own members, but they didn't. Their caucus rejected this proposal and turned their backs on Israel instead. Now, I have a real concern with what the Democrats are turning their back on, not just our ally, but also, I feel, turning our backs on America. We've watched in this few short months what they have done to the border, the refusal to hold China accountable. Did we have any hearings this week in regards to the 600,000 Americans who've been killed from COVID and where it came from? The Biden administration, Democratic policies are facing multiple crises in our country. We need solutions. That is why this week I announced the official launch of 7 issues-specific task force that will focus on identifying policies that will improve the lives of all families in America. The task force chairs and members are assigned to each task force will work together within their respective areas to develop policies that can help us improve our lives. Many will be introduced this year and next year and even into the next Congress. The task force members and leads for jobs and economy, it will be Patrick McHenry. Big tech censorship and data, Kathy McMorris Rogers. Future of America freedoms, Jim Jordan. Energy, climate, and conservation, Garrett Graves. American security, John Katko. Healthy future, that'll be Devin Nunes and Brett Guthrie. China accountability, Michael McCall. Under their leadership, these task forces will work over the next couple months to build on our commitment to America agenda that we released last year. And when we are in the majority in January 2023, will be much different than the Democrats. Many of you recall you all received a schedule of a calendar for Congress. The minute the Democrats won their victory in Georgia, what did they do? They canceled the schedule because they didn't know what to do. And now we found out 6 months later, all they've done is developed a crisis. The Republican conference will have the answers and the solutions, and we'll lay them out to the American public to be very clear. As we move into this weekend, in these just 6 months of Biden administration, we have the highest gas prices in 7 years, as many want to hit the road. Inflation grew at the fastest rate since 2008. Crime. Last weekend, more than 70 shootings in Chicago. Just watched the weeks before, a man and woman pulled from their car in broad daylight and shot and killed on the streets of Chicago. Just a few weeks ago, we watched the young children walking their neighborhood in New York get knocked down by a man running who's being shot at. Continued to shoot at him as he laid on top of the children. We've watched crime continue to spike as the Democrats made that movement just a few years ago, hear about defunding of the police. Now we watch that the Democrats defunding the police is not enough for them. We watched what happened in appropriations just yesterday. The defunding of the border as well, from CBP and ICE. Even reducing it below than what the Biden administration wants. We watched the person in charge, the vice president, spend a short amount of time along the border, more at an airport, saying that they inherited a problem, but each month the problem has gotten worse. They set a new record, a 21-year record of the number of people coming across. Well, I think the American public wants more. They want to hold people accountable. They want a border that's secure. They want an economy that will grow. They want inflation under control, and they want a gas price they can afford as well. Unfortunately, no one thought in this short amount of time they'd put America in this greatest crisis. We watched the Middle East erupt, and today they had an opportunity not to send offensive, but defensive to our greatest ally, the only democracy in the Middle East, and they could not even agree on that. With that, let's open it up for questions. You want to go to you first?
Yeah.
All right, go right ahead. Let's guess.
So why should Liz Cheney lose her committee assignments for agreeing to serve on a select committee to investigate what happened on January 6th?
I'm not making any threats about committee assignments, but as you know how Congress works, you get elected by your district, and you get your committees from your conference. So when Jeff Van Drew left the party and became a Republican, he got lost his committee assignments from the Speaker and got them from the Republican conference. When Justin Amash left, he then went and got his committee assignments from the Speaker. I don't know in history where someone would go get their committee assignments from the Speaker and expect them to have them from the conference as well.
But you haven't even criticized some of your own members, like Andrew Clyde, who said that it was a normal tourist visit that day, yet she can lose her committee assignments for wanting to investigate what happened. Why
Look,
wouldn't you
I
criticize
did not
Andrew
say,
Clyde?
let me be very clear, I'm not threatening anybody with committee assignments. What I'm saying is, it was shocking to me that if a person is a Republican, they get their committee assignments from the Republican conference. For somebody to accept committee assignments from Speaker Pelosi, that's unprecedented. Yes.
Do you regret not supporting the bipartisan commission idea now that you're going to have to deal with a committee that you have even less control over and an opportunity to influence and arguably would be more political?
No, I regret the politics of Nancy Pelosi. For 6 months, she had played politics with this. So what has transpired in those 6 months? In those 6 months in the Senate, they had 2 committees bipartisanly investigate this and give a report. The FBI has arrested almost 500 people. The architect of the Capitol has been given $10 million. Pelosi continues to make this nothing about politics. That's why no one really takes this serious based upon the direction of what she wants to go. If you have read the Senate report, you'd be very concerned. You're concerned to what happened on that day, but you're concerned what happened on the days before it that caused that day to happen. Why wasn't the National Guard here? There's a lot of questions why that determination was made. National Guard were doing street patrol, but not within the Capitol. It's concerning to me why the Speaker would narrow the scope. Did something happen in the summer to make that decision not to bring the National Guard here? Why were the riot gears locked in a bus that people couldn't get to? All that preparation ahead of time. Why was the intel not provided and moved further? Sergeant of Arms never spoke to me prior to the meeting, prior to the 6th, during the 6th, after the 6th. There's a lot of questions that raise, and you got the Senate that went and did the work, and we got a Speaker that did nothing but play politics and try to drive it that way.
Well, if you've got questions, are you going to
Yes,
appoint,
ma'am.
are you going to appoint members to this committee to try to answer those questions?
When I have news on that, I'll give it to you. Yes.
I mean, that was my question. Do you intend to name members to this panel? And if not, I mean, last week you met with Officer Fanone, you met with Officer Dunn. They were here last week. They urged you to take this seriously. So,
Officer Singer.
correct. So are you taking this seriously?
I take it very seriously. Yes.
I'm wondering, you just named a number of entities that you think are to blame for potentially for the events of January 6th.
I didn't say blame something.
You have questions about it, but
Yeah.
do you believe that President Trump, former President Trump, is accountable in some way for what the events leading up to January 6th?
Have you read the Senate report? Did you read the Senate report? Did you have questions about how the prep that we had for this Capitol? Were you concerned about when they found IEDs in the morning? Did we not call the FBI? Were you concerned about the idea that the Sergeant of Arms had intel provided by the FBI, but it wasn't passed forward? Were you concerned if we had that information, why didn't we have a different presence built here? If you were concerned about riots, why would you put the riot gear in a bus that was locked and around, down the way? If there was, in the time of the riot took place, why was there not communication that had direction from leadership? Because leadership wasn't talking. There's so many failures along that way that happened the days before that allowed individuals to get into the building. That's once we want to make sure never, ever happens again.
Former
But I
President Trump
appreciate
was
that.
the
Did you
president
have a
at the
question
time.
too,
Does he
sir?
have
Yeah, I
no
was-
responsibility?
Yeah.
I was gonna ask whether you, when you were gonna appoint people. Because she could go ahead, she has a quorum now that she's appointed Cheney, so,
Well, she plays politics all the time.
but so, I mean, it would appear to be in your interest to get people on this thing now.
You think it's in my interest that it's a political game of what she's playing. When I have news on this, I'll provide the news. Paul, how are you doing today? Did I upset you last time?
No.
Oh, I thought from your article I must have upset you. I felt gray hair is positive, and you were younger than me, so, I don't know, I hope you feel better after the
Do
article.
you want to answer Jack's
McCarthy, quick question.
Yes, sir.
Do you believe that effectively by Liz Cheney accepting the committee assignment on January 6th, that she's left the Republican conference?
Well, I was shocked that she would accept something from Speaker Pelosi. It would seem to me, as since I didn't hear from her, maybe she's closer to her than us, I don't know.
Examples you gave about kind of previous members who lost their committee assignments when they literally
No, I
left
was
the
trying to
conference.
give you an example on based of how, when somebody comes here, how they get their committees. I mean, take for example, when Liz Cheney came to Congress, she came to see me about, and the other members on steering about committees assignments, just as every other Republican did. No Democrat came to see me about committee assignments, and the only time Jeff Van Drew came to me about committee assignments after he left. So, no, that's why it would be shocking to me for anybody from a party on the other side to come and want to accept a position, Democrat from me, and it'd be shocking to me to have a Republican to go to a Speaker Pelosi of all people to accept a committee assignment.
Pelosi to extend a seat to Liz Cheney, someone of your own conference?
I'm sorry?
Do you think it was bad of Speaker Pelosi to extend a seat on the committee to someone?
Well, I've always found how the system works here. Republicans, conference appoints Republicans and Democrats appoint Democrats. That's why you have ratios, and that's why you have the system way it goes. Look, if I don't see all of you because we'll be gone, I want to wish you all a very happy 4th of July. Let's celebrate the freedoms we have, and let's not forget them. Thank you.
That'd be excellent. Yeah, thank you.
I just got it.